Yo, what's going on, everyone? This is Julien. It's been a while since you've heard my voice. You've been hearing Jake's voice quite a bit recently in some of our recent videos, and that's due to me being in the process of a move the last couple weeks. I haven't had time to do videos, but thankfully I'm settled now, and I'm ready to start cranking them out again. That sounded a little weird. I don't think I'm going to be cranking anything. What I mean is I'm just going to be putting videos out and talking about games again, which feels good. It feels good. I like talking about games, and I like interacting with you guys, so please enjoy me talking about Tomb Raider. But yes, Tomb Raider is the topic of today's video. I have been playing a lot of the new one. I've had the time to play it recently, surprisingly, throughout this moving process, and I'm really enjoying it. This is the third game in the rebooted series. This is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the previous to this one being Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I think the first one in the rebooted series was just called The Tomb Raider, or Tomb Raider. I remember being hesitant to play a Tomb Raider game, and I think that's because when I was a kid, I got one on the PlayStation, or I rented one, and it was the one that started off, it might have been Tomb Raider 2, but you started off in this like walk up to like an icy cave, or maybe it wasn't even icy, maybe it was a jungle cave. My memory is a little bit broken on it, but what I do remember is walking up along the side of this cliff or path and being confronted by two tigers, and they would just run at you. They would like storm out of the cave or jump down from a cliff or something, and they might have been Siberian tigers for all I know. I'm not up to speed on my tiger species, but they were super fast and super deadly. And back in the day in Tomb Raider games, Lara Croft would just kind of somersault to the side. She moved very stiff. She could jump really high, almost like Master Chief, and it felt like slow motion, kind of. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the control, even as a kid, I recognized as not being that great, and at least when I think back on it, I remember it being very stiff and kind of blocky, and it just didn't feel good. And clearly, when they rebooted the series, I didn't think that was going to be something that carried over, was this extremely stiff and weird control of your character. But I think that initial imprint in my mind of like what a Tomb Raider game was kind of dissuaded me from wanting to try it. But thankfully I did, and man, the first Tomb Raider rebooted game was good. It was so good, actually. It was awesome. It blended really well-made stealth mechanics with action. I mean, the action scenes were really good in that game. There was one section where you're hanging off this plane, this old broken down World War II plane that's hanging off the top of like a waterfall. And of course, eventually the plane breaks apart and you plummet down through the river, the whitewater rapids, and you're having to dodge branches of trees that if you hit them, stab Lara through the head. These games are really brutal, if you didn't know. I think in the gameplay video I have here, there's only one death that I capture, but they're pretty brutal. I mean, they're even grotesque at times where you kind of cringe. But yeah, that was something I really wasn't expecting in these games, was these gnarly deaths. But anyway, Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics clearly wanted to incorporate this high-action, high-thrill game type with a lot of stealth and puzzle solving, which is part of what makes a Tomb Raider game, is stealth and problem solving and puzzle solving, of course. And I want to take a sidetrack here and say that the comparison to the Uncharted series is necessary at this point, given the impact that the Uncharted games have had in the gaming industry. The level of cinematic action in the Uncharted series really changed the way that developers crafted stories. I mean, look at the recent Spider-Man game, for example. A lot of that gameplay is very cinematic. It's just the way that games have evolved, and Uncharted was the pinnacle of that. And so some have joked that Tomb Raider was kind of like a knockoff of Uncharted, but you know what? Tomb Raider came first, right? Uncharted modeled its original game sort of off of Tomb Raider. I mean, it also has influence from Indiana Jones and things like that, but clearly there is influence from the original Tomb Raider series. So yes, Uncharted did take the idea of exploring tombs and ancient temples, solving puzzles and avoiding traps. It took that concept and elevated it to a point where it kind of felt like you were playing a movie that was similar to Indiana Jones mixed with Tomb Raider. So it makes sense that the rebooted Tomb Raider games are pretty much the closest thing to Uncharted without actually being an Uncharted game. They're brother and sister. They should actually do a crossover game. Nathan Drake and Lara team up. Why the hell not? And, you know, I'm not always up to date with gaming. I don't always get the new consoles right away. I'm not in the industry. You know, I like talking about video games and everything, but I don't get all these games for free, and let alone the consoles. So when a new generation rolls around, I always get the Xbox console first, and then I usually will get the Sony console and then the Nintendo console. Those last two sometimes switch around. But should you just stick with one console and that console happens to be an Xbox, and you're jealous of those that can play the Uncharted series, which you should be because the Uncharted series is fucking good, you know, you have Tomb Raider. You could play Tomb Raider on Xbox and be happy. It's just as good of an experience as Uncharted, I think. But, you know, Uncharted is a little better, but, you know, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And Tomb Raider has a bunch of other stuff in it that Uncharted doesn't. I mean, Uncharted is a very narrative-driven, single-line linear game, whereas Tomb Raider opens it up to further exploration, and there's side quests. Drake is a very static character. He doesn't change throughout the course of playing the game, whereas in Tomb Raider, you level Lara up. You can gain certain skills. You can change her outfit. I think you can do that in Uncharted, but, you know, changing your outfit in Tomb Raider actually does things, like gives you better stealth, allows for better aim, or things like that. These are all welcome things, I find, and I really enjoy exploring the small areas in Tomb Raider, especially this game in particular. The first game took place in a sort of like a foresty island, which reminded me of somewhere maybe like Portland. And then the second game was very mountainous and snowy. And this third game takes place in Mexico and South America, so it's very jungly, it's very lush, and all around just super vibrant. I mean, look at this background here. I had to stop and really gauge the surrounding here, really soak it in, because I think it's one of the most beautifully designed areas in any video game I've ever played. Seeing this giant temple in the background just made me want to run up there. I don't know, I hope you can go up there eventually. I wanted to climb it. I wanted to go see what's in there. I haven't made it there yet. I think I'm only a few hours into the game, maybe like 5 or 6 hours into the game. And the Xbox One does get knocked occasionally compared to PS4 visuals, which is true. I mean, most of the time the PS4 does visually look better than Xbox One games. But even on Xbox One, this looks really good. I'm playing this on an Xbox One S on a 4K monitor, and it looks really, really good. I will say that it feels like there's a lot less combat scenarios in this game, and that there's a more emphasis on exploration and more emphasis on puzzles. And that's a good thing. I think it's a more grounded Lara Croft than the past two games. I think she feels, while at times superhuman, because she's performing pretty unrealistic scaffolding jumps. I don't know if scaffolding is the right word. I'm not a free climber or a climber at all, really. So it's probably the wrong word. But, you know, she does some stuff that's very Drake-like, you know, Uncharted Drake, jumping from a cliff to what seems like 50 feet down and being fine. She's basically inhuman, is what I'll say. Actually, it's actually interesting playing a game like Spider-Man in contrast directly with this, because I am playing both of those games at the same time. And Spider-Man is such a fluid and fast-paced game as you're swinging through New York. There's so much speed and like a rhythmic locomotion to that. Going from that to playing a couple hours of Tomb Raider, where you're strapped into the ground most of the time, you know, you would think that there would be some shift in your mind as you do that, and maybe it would take you a little bit to get used to that environment. But honestly, I haven't felt that. I think you can transition fine between those two games. So yeah, it's like not really an issue that occurred to me. So you can grab this on PS4 as well, but you know, why? Just get it on Xbox. Just kidding. You can play it on whatever you want, except Switch, because it's not on Switch. Play it on Xbox or PS4. Might be on PC. I don't know. But I'm playing on Xbox One. I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to maybe more Tomb Raider games. I don't know if they're going to make any other ones. Maybe she dies at the end of this one. If she does die, don't let me know in the comments. I doubt she does, but I don't want to know. I got to get there myself. I also got to beat Spider-Man, but that's just a side note. Anyway, thanks for tuning into this video. I'm back making videos. I'm happy about it, and I will see you guys soon.